Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of my weekly presentation called Legal Ease. It's my legal talk show where I discuss important topics that apply to people that I represent and people that I know. Sometimes people have been involved in motor vehicle accidents. Sometimes they've been involved in criminal matters. But either way, I'm here to discuss issues that are important to those, to educate people, and hopefully save them a lot of pain and heartache later on. But anyway, I appreciate you coming. And if you like what you hear and you like what I say today, please feel free to smash the like button below or like and comment as well. And I do appreciate your questions. So if you have any things you'd like to ask me in particular that I can answer for you or answer in a later session, then please feel free to contribute that information. It's very, very valuable. Let me fix my screen here a little bit. That's better. You can see more of me. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. And today I'm actually answering another question from an old friend who was concerned about loss of driver's license in Florida. They had something come up where they were issued a driving license suspended citation from a police officer because they had failed to pay their automobile insurance and they were issued a suspension. So that's really the issue as far as loss of driver's license. I'm going to go through a couple of ways that can happen, and that's one of the ways that I'm going to hit on in a little while. But anyway, thank you for coming, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Now, as you're aware, your driver's license is probably one of the most important things that you possess, your most valued possessions. Without it, you're restricted in your ability sometimes to work, to get about, to board an airplane and travel domestically or internationally, or just participate in daily social activities. We rely so much on our driver's license, yet we kind of take it for granted because it's always with us, and most of us can't contemplate a scenario whereby we'd lose our license. But in the state of Florida, I'm going to go through 5 ways that can happen, and some of these ways may make sense and some of them may take you by surprise. But once again, I'm here to educate you just so that you can understand these things and possibly present yourself or somebody you care about a lot of heartache down the road. Now, your license can be canceled or suspended in certain circumstances. And really, the ramifications go way beyond the DMV sometimes in terms of, like I said, your work, your travel, and stuff like that. But drivers make common mistakes that they could potentially avoid if they would just be careful. Now, the first failure that people make, the first mistake is that they fail to pay a traffic fine, or they pay the traffic fine without doing it intelligently. So failure to pay a traffic fine probably accounts for about half of the suspensions in the state of Florida. So if you're issued a traffic citation for, say, careless driving or for speeding, making an improper turn, you have 30 days either to make arrangements for the payment of the ticket or to set it for a court date. So you need to do that on your civil infractions. Now, some tickets are written and they're infractions, but the officer will check in the box at the bottom of the ticket that you're required to show in court. So if you're issued a citation where you're required to show in court, then that'll say so on the ticket and you'll be issued a court date, which you need to show for or have a lawyer attend for you. However, as is mostly the case with civil infraction tickets like speeding and careless driving, you're not required to show up in court for this ticket, although you may opt for a court hearing and to challenge the ticket as long as you do it within 30 days. But if you do not make an arrangement to pay for the ticket, pay the ticket, or set a court date, then your license will be suspended in what we call a D6 license, a D6 suspension. And if that occurs, you need to go to the clerk immediately and you need to pay a fine and you need to clear that D6 suspension right away. And if that occurs, you obviously at that point in time, you're a little past your point to take action on the citation other than perhaps to just pay it, which you shouldn't do. In that particular case, I would call an attorney and have him represent you or consult with an attorney as to what is best. So that's very, very important. You don't want to miss taking action on your citation within the allotted time. And by action, I mean pay it, but don't just pay it. You want to pay it and you want to make an arrangement with the clerk of court as far as one of the options on the ticket. You want to take the driving school. You don't want to just pay the ticket, because that'll just lead to points on your license and conviction on your record, and bad things will happen. Your insurance rates will go up and things like that. So you want to avoid that if possible. So you never want to just pay the ticket. You want to make an arrangement with the clerk to do the traffic school. And that's very, very important. The other option is, obviously, you can go and you can request a hearing date and challenge the validity of the ticket, or I advise you have an attorney do that for you. But you definitely want to only pay the ticket if you arrange with the clerk to do the driving school. So what would happen would be, you'd go to the clerk of court, or you'd go on the website, you would indicate that you want to elect to take the driving school. The clerk will then accept your money. You'll pay a certain portion of the ticket, a little bit less than normal. You'll pay a percentage of the ticket, and you will then be required to attend driving school. And these days we do it online. And you need to present the certificate of completion of the driving school within the allotted period of time. Some counties give you 60 days, some counties give you 90 days. So depending on where you are, you need to complete that. And if you do that properly, then you keep the points off your license. You do not get a conviction for the ticket, and you have a less likely chance of getting your license suspended, because you've addressed the problem and you've kept the points off your license. Now, this is a word of caution. Make sure that the state of Florida and the clerk of court have your correct mailing address and contact information. So if for some reason you mishandle a citation and you don't set a court date, you don't pay it in time, well, Tallahassee is going to send you a notice of impending suspension of your driver's license. It's going to come right from the state. And it'll go to whatever license they have, address they have for you. So if you don't get that notification because it's gone to the wrong address, because you have not updated your address, then you're in for a lot of trouble. You want to make sure that your mail is going to go to the right place so that you don't have that problem, because that problem can become very problematic. To give you an example, if you were to receive notice of an impending suspension, or if it were to be sent to the wrong address, and the time period that the license will be suspended in such and such a date unless you take action, you're not aware of it because you didn't get the letter because it went to the wrong address, you're still going to be responsible. So your license is suspended, you're driving down the road, and a police officer stops you, and he can issue you a suspension of, actually a citation for driving with a suspended license, or DWLSR, we call it, driving with license suspended or revoked. If he issues you that citation, then you can, it'll either be issued as a civil traffic infraction or as a traffic misdemeanor. But either way, you want to avoid having to deal with the consequences of either one, because those charges are enhanceable. If you get 3 driving with license suspended charged against you, you can be charged as a felon on the 3rd one. So it's the quickest way to becoming a felon, is by driving with a suspended license. And you didn't even know that your license was suspended. You didn't know, maybe you failed to pay your car insurance or whatever. Ticket went, the notice went to the wrong address. You didn't know, and the next thing you know, the police officer is either writing you a ticket or arresting you. And on a 3rd one, you can be charged as a felon. I mean, can you imagine how easy it is to be a felon in the state of Florida, and not having your driver's license in its proper standing is one of the things that can contribute to that. So now, these can be charged as a felony on the 3rd charge. However, if you have 3 of these types of charges, 3 criminal traffic charges that you've been convicted of within a 3-year period of time, you can actually be habitualized, meaning that your driver's license can be suspended for 5 years just based upon the traffic history and the offenses occurring within that period of time. So that's the first way. The second way your license can be suspended is accumulation of points on your license. Now, a state typically assigns points to your license based upon conviction for traffic violations. So if you were to pay a ticket without taking the driving school, if you were to just go and pay the ticket right off because you think it's the right thing to do, or if you had a couple of tickets that are late in being paid. I had a client that recently called me because his son was behind on a couple of tickets, and his father had gone and paid his tickets without electing for the school or without calling a lawyer. I had to call Osceola County. I had to undo the previous conviction and have it be a withhold to save him for charges that he was facing in Orange County. And we were able to get that all knocked out. It took some doing, But had the father known right off that you don't just simply pay a traffic ticket without making an arrangement for the driving school or the points to be addressed, then you're going to have problems. Now, the state of Florida, and this does vary from state to state, so don't go by Florida, but Florida actually has a system whereby you will lose your license for 30 days if you accumulate 12 points within a 12-month period. Now, that suspension time increases to 3 months if you acquire 18 points within an 18-month period. And then it would be an entire 24 months if you get 24 points. I'm sorry, it'll be a year if you get 24 points within a 36-month period of time. So remember that 12 points in a year is a month suspension. 18 points in 18 months is a 3-month suspension, and 24 points within 36 months is a 12-month suspension of your license in Florida. And if you're driving while the license is suspended for those reasons, you can get charged with driving with suspended license, and that's enhanceable, and that could possibly lead to a felony charge. And I'll remind you again, never just pay a ticket. Hire an attorney, let them handle the ticket for you, or go to the clerk of court and opt to take the driving school. Now, it may happen that you get 2 civil infraction tickets within a single year. If that's the case, then you can't elect the second time to take the traffic school. But call your attorney, because we can go to court and we can arrange with the court for you to possibly be able to be given the withhold, and the court may just simply require the driving school, or the court may not. But either way, on a second one within a year, you definitely want to have an attorney address that, because you're going to need that. And this is something that's very near and dear to my heart as a personal injury attorney. I mean, I handle traffic accidents. It's what I do all day long, most of the time. You're required to carry a minimum amount of insurance in the state under your auto policy. And the policy will include no-fault benefits and will include property damage. But you need to carry this. And I always advise people to also carry bodily injury liability and uninsured motorists, but that's another conversation for a different day. But if you fail to carry the minimum insurance requirement in the state, you fail to have an auto policy for a car that you own, then you can have your license suspended. Once the state gets notice of the failure to insure a registered vehicle, they're then going to send a notice of impending suspension to you, give you the time to correct the problem. However, if you do not, either because you didn't get the ticket or the letter because you had the wrong address, or if you got it and you forgot or were lazy or something happened, then you're potentially going to have your license be suspended at that point in time. And the fact that it was sent to you at the last known address is a presumption that you got it. So even it may not sound fair, I didn't get it, they had the wrong address. It doesn't matter. That's your responsibility to make sure that you provide the right information so that that doesn't happen. And once again, if it does happen and you get pulled over by police, you may not find this out till you go to the DMV to renew your license. You may not find it out until you get pulled over by the police officer in the first place. And like I said, if your license is already suspended by Tallahassee, then you don't even need to be doing anything wrong. You don't have to be speeding or causing an accident or making an improper turn or going through red light. If the officer is able to look your tag up and see that your registration and it actually is suspended, then you'll get pulled over right there and then, and that's all the reason he needs, and he can issue a citation or he can arrest you depending on what number offense it is. Now, the fourth way to get your license suspended is if you are convicted of a DUI in the state of Florida. I'm not going to get too much into it because that's, once again, a conversation for a different day. I do a whole lecture on DUIs and their criminal and their administrative sort of two heads of that snake. But suffice it to say, if you're driving and your blood alcohol level is a 0.08 or higher, a jury can then presume that your normal faculties are impaired. And if your normal faculties are impaired and you were caught driving or in actual physical control of your vehicle, and you're convicted of a DUI, then you will lose your license for a period of months, whereas for 6 months on the first offense. If you get a second DUI, then depending on when it occurs within a 5-year period, you could potentially lose your license for a 5-year period. So you want to always be very, very careful not to drink and drive. We have Uber nowadays, and you always got friends and family. So if you don't want to spring for the Uber, or you're afraid of riding in a car with somebody else right now because of COVID or whatever else, call your friends, call your family, but do not get a DUI, because a conviction for that is very, very expensive and very inconvenient, to say the least. So, and the last way is not a DUI, but another criminal conviction. And I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on this either, but there are certain offenses that carry with them loss of license. Certain drug possessions, for instance, can result in you losing your license. And in fact, even the crime of shoplifting and robbery could potentially lead to a loss of your license. But those are basically the 5 ways that it happens in Florida. And just to review them with you really, really quick: failing to pay your fine for a traffic infraction, although I would always tell you to pay it while taking the driving school with the clerk; accumulating too many points on your license within a period of time; failure to carry minimum bodily injury car insurance, your PIP and your property damage liability; a conviction for a DUI, or a criminal conviction on drug-related and other offenses. So that's the presentation for today. I hope that that information was valuable and that you'll really, really take it seriously. And if you have any questions about anything about this, or if it happens to you or somebody you care about, call me. I can be reached on my cell at 727-656-7852, or you can email me at chris@cdbinjurylaw.com. I'm always available to answer your questions, and if I don't catch the call right away, I'll get back to you very quickly. And please remember, if you liked what you heard today, please hit the like button. Please feel free to share or comment below. And there you go. That's, and I really appreciate it. And like I said, I appreciate your questions and your input. It's very, very useful and helps me to sort of craft additional installments of the show. But once again, folks, thank you very much for stopping in tonight. And I hope to see you next week, where we're going to talk about auto insurance. And I'm going to be having a guest on to discuss that. He's an expert in the insurance industry, and he's got a lot of great information. And so we're going to do that next week. Same place, same time, Tuesday at 5 in the evening. And folks, have a pleasant week. And actually, a question just came in. What about toll fines? I'm not sure I understand what the question. Okay. Well, yeah, of course, you can also have toll fines can lead to suspension of your license too if you do not pay them properly. The usually what they will have, I've never really had that happen. I've had it happen where they'll jack the amount of the fine up and they could potentially suspend your license. But if you handle that within the proper amount of time, they do toll by plate, or if you have the SunPass, which you should have, it shouldn't be a problem. But if for some reason that you receive a suspension for failing to pay tolls, contact me. I can help you with that. And once again, the number is 727-656-7852. Thank you very much, folks, and enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.